Looks like Angela Rayner's plans to put in place an official Islamophobia definition could backfire massively. We've just had a poll come out suggesting that if Labour brings in an Islamophobia law, it could hand the Reform Party a whopping 100-seat majority. We all thought that Labour was doing this because it would help win them Muslim votes. But looks like even if that was their intention, it could be a massive miscalculation, because this is going to infuriate the working classes who would typically vote for Labour. So this is how this has been calculated. So there was a survey put out to 2,000 people, and it shows that Labour polls significantly worse when people are told about Labour's Islamophobia plans. So they basically asked people, who would you vote for, without saying anything about Islamophobia laws, and that gave Reform a polling number of 29%, Labour 23%, Conservative 17%, and Lib Dems 14%. And then they said, who would you vote for if Labour brought in a definition of Islamophobia, and things changed quite drastically. Reform went up by 1 point to 30%, which doesn't sound that insane, but Labour lost 3 points to 20%. Now, these may not sound like huge numbers, but given that at the moment the Labour Party has a very thin majority, in that although they have 480 seats in the House of Commons, there were, I believe, 99 seats where they were second to Reform, and Labour really, in so many of those seats, they just won by a teeny tiny amount, and so a tiny change in voting intention could completely wipe out a huge number of Labour's seats. So that's why the small numbers are really important. And it says here, if this was replicated at a general election, that would be the difference between a Reform majority of 20 without the Islamophobia definition and 106 if it were brought in. Bringing in the definition would cause a loss of 1 million votes to Labour and a fall in its seats in the Commons from 155 to 103. Can you imagine that? The Labour Party going from 480 seats in the 2024 general election to 103 seats. We thought we saw the Tories got completely wiped out at the last general election, but we could see the Labour Party completely wiped out as well at the next one. Now let's see this visually, just to make it a bit clearer to you guys. So the dark blue is before they tell the voters about the definition, and blue, the light blue, is when they say, who would you vote for if Labour introduced an Islamophobia definition. And you can see Reform goes up from 29 to 30%, but you can see quite a chunk taken out of the Labour Party vote, going down from 23% to 20%. As I said, 23 to 20% is very significant when the Labour Party currently hold a load of seats with a very small majority in each of those seats. The Tories gain slightly. So you get 18% versus 17% there, and looks like the Lib Dems stay pretty much the same. This is pretty shocking stuff. And just on this topic of the Islamophobia definition, why is this so important? The reason why this is so important is because we have, since the start of this year, obviously this has gone on for some time, years and decades now that people have been campaigning for this, but since January, everyone has been really going for it on the grooming gangs, really speaking up. Everyone's been pushing for this national inquiry. We now seem to be getting a national inquiry. Finally, people are speaking up. But people are very concerned that if you bring in place an Islamophobia definition, that's actually going to shut down debate on the grooming gangs, because people will worry that they will be breaking the law on the grounds of Islamophobia if they speak about the Muslim connection to grooming gangs. So it says here in the Telegraph article, critics have warned that some proposed definitions of Islamophobia would make it impossible for people to raise concerns about Asian grooming gangs. And the Tories have accused Ms Rayner of appointing a committee with extreme views to come up with the official definition. So there's a working group, and it is chaired by the very woke Dominic Grieve. I know he's a former Tory, we know he's a Ramona. The reason why we have concerns about Dominic Grieve running the show in this working group is because in 2019 he he praised a 2019 report that called discussion of the grooming gangs an example of anti-Muslim racism. Really, Dominic, you're going to deny valid discussions about the mass rape of young girls on the basis that it's anti-Muslim racism, and this is the guy we're putting in charge of coming up with the Islamophobia definition? Please. And another guy who is in the all-party parliamentary group for British Muslims that has been helping with this definition is the guy who was handed an MBE for cohesion and integration in the community, even though we have him on video shouting and screaming, telling the Muslims of Rotherham that they must boycott the police, refuse to speak to them, refuse to cooperate with them, else the Muslim community will boycott them and cut them out, cut off their friends and everything if they don't go on with this boycott. How is that promoting cohesion and integration? And is that the kind of guy that you want to be helping come up with an Islamophobia definition? I certainly do not want Dominic Grieve or the guy that got an MBE for cohesion and integration to have anything to do with it. So this is very concerning, but hopefully, the good news here is that maybe Angela Rayner will see this polling and she will freak out and she will back off. I pray. Anyway, I'm Chloe Dobbs. Thank you very much for watching this video. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you want to have more news updates like this, make sure you press the subscribe button down below and the notification bell so you don't miss out. See you next time.